Welcome to the March 19th Bristol Planning Commission meeting. We're going to start our meeting with a public hearing. And it is, let's see if I can read this. Is the hearing on here? Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it. We're going to do that before we review the agenda. Mm-hmm. No, that's usually what we do. So we're going to just start with the hearing. Okay, the hearing is hearing number 19-500, Susan and Michael Keith, parcel 235091 for a site plan review. And so this is a application for site plan review. So how do you guys want to start? Are you going to start them, Chris, or are they going to present their project? How are you coached?
If I would just give them you can join them.
So, yeah, why don't you come to the table and just tell us what you're going to do?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, I didn't know if you had a main plan.
And then if there's any questions, I can help follow up with whatever there's from zoning side. So.
Okay. Got room for two?
Yeah.
Room for two.
Share that chair.
Thank you. That's part of the process.
Yeah. Always got
You can't share the chair, you can't share the space.
Table for two.
Always put in another cup of water.
Congratulations on your new building.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We're excited and like nervous at the same time, so.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah,
Well,
pretty excited.
we're glad you're going forward with.
Yeah,
new
yeah, it's
business
exciting
and
to be
stuff.
part of the, the community, in that respect. The other thing I noticed is, this just popped up to me, like on that side of the street, not only is the businesses, I think, doing well, it's like, it's primarily women-owned businesses, right down, borrowing covers down the road. I was like, that's pretty neat. I was telling Sean about that, like, you guys should. But, so anyways, I guess we should back up and start. So we, at 20 Main Street, we purchased the building. It's got, where movies used to be, most recently, recycled bookstore was there.
This is only.
The sunny side.
sunny side.
I've learned that term too.
Covers
There's a
and-
sunny side of Bristol, which is true too. I've learned. But, so there's
Not that there's anything wrong with the others.
no.
No, they're both.
You mean the dark side?
The dark side. I guess that's one way to
That
put it.
doesn't sound too good.
Hi.
Hey.
He's in there. That's it. Zoning office.
So can you just give me a sense of where it is
Yeah.
again?
Emerald Rose. The new honey lights.
Covers.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
okay.
know where recycled reading was?
Now I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We share a wall with the new honey
Right,
lights. is.
okay.
So that's
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
are.
Okay.
And the space has two one-bedroom apartments above, and the downstairs space is about 1,250 feet that we would like to turn into a day spa, hair salon, with a treatment room for massage and
Facials and waxing.
nails.
Private.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So basically hair, beauty and wellness products. So
And the square footage is 1,250?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah, give or take a couple, yeah,
Yeah.
and, yeah, so we're anxious to get going, now that the building is ours, and obviously the bills come along with that, so we're anxious to get rolling and hope to be up, ideally, we might be shooting for the moon, but May 1st, up and running, so.
Maybe a silly question, but where's the road here?
The road is towards you.
This is the,
Yeah,
this is Main.
that's Main Street, correct.
Got it. Okay.
So I think we haven't done a site plan for a building
No.
that's already exists.
Right.
So we've only been doing site plan for a year, 2 years. And I don't think we've done one yet, a review like this for a building that already exists on Main Street, for instance. So,
With no real modifications.
right, so.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, I know it calls for it in the regs.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, so I guess when we did the regs, we didn't really think about how requiring that would affect a building like this, that is an existing building attached to two other buildings already on a place like Main Street.
Where there can be no physical modification.
Right.
There is a change of use.
Right, that's really what.
Is it a change of use review?
it is, because it went from a retail to
Right.
a personal services.
Okay.
Right.
And personal services requires a site plan review, but you know what I mean, we haven't really done one for a building like this.
Yeah, because when you look through the criteria, there's a lot of NAs, and
Right.
a lot of,
Right.
nothing's changing.
So
Right.
if it seems redundant,
Please forgive us.
No, no
We're
problem.
sort of working out our process.
We've never done
because-
this either, so
Okay, good.
even
and
if
you
you're
might
doing it
think,
wrong, we won't
okay,
even know.
how did highlights do
Well,
that?
neither will we.
I know, well, I went to Honey Lights and I was like, okay, well, how come Honey Lights didn't, it wasn't a change of use?
Correct, retail to retail to retail.
And that is the difference. And sometimes that, so a site plan, it's almost like a use review, but it's not a conditional use because it is allowed,
Yes,
but we're just taking a closer look at it because it's a use that abuts up to, it's a change in use. So I guess that would be.
and it's mostly about external, I mean, a site plan review
Yeah.
is typically about the external indications of a business or a
Right.
use. So if you were in a standalone building and you were using a building for the first time, what would traffic look like? What would the exterior of your business look like? Where would the garbage be stored and things like that? But because sounds like you're moving into a business, you're moving into a building that has had a business presence for a long time, that already has an established, garbage arrangement and a front arrangement, which
Right.
won't change at all, except for the possibility of a change of sign.
Well, we will be, I don't know if this is the time to
Address
address it, we are gonna change the facade
Right.
of, is this,
And that would be.
Mostly design review,
That would be
right.
going to the design.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another hearing we'd like to go to.
Right.
right?
And usually for a building within the design review area,
Yeah,
an application like this does go to that group first. So, and as I said, we're still sort of working through our
Yeah.
steps, I think. Does that sound right?
Right, but at the time of application, when we spoke, there was, your current, was not gonna change the facade when
Right.
when we filed the application. And so when, the changes to that facade will occur down the road.
Down the road, okay,
This is
then you
phase
go to
one.
the design review, yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so that's why it feels like it's in reverse order, that
That's okay.
normally, you are correct, that it would go to design review first,
Right.
then it
And
would
they
come to
make a
planning.
recommendation to the planning commission, and then we consider their recommendation.
Right, which, that process will happen for the facade
Right.
changes, but.
Right.
So just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Is there an entrance?
There is, yeah, there's an
rear of
entrance to the
building?
back, which would, you'd be walking out to almost to Rite Aid, basically, in that area.
Ah,
Yeah,
So use this
Oh, yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah.
Bill, use this as well, because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
helpful
yeah.
to be able to see
Yeah.
that, right? So this is the main
that's
street,
Walgreens
and this is
right
the
there.
parking
Okay, I
lot.
got it now.
Where the,
Okay, I wasn't, I didn't realize it was.
That's
that
the-
far.
that was meant for my eyes only, and then someone was like, oh, can I have a copy of this? And I was like, ah,
and this is Shaw's.
it's a little rough.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Okay.
there's like a walkway here existing, and then cars parked.
And so you're not planning on changing any, and adding any windows or
No.
anything in the back, but that'll also come up later too. So there's nothing on the outside that, other than
Right.
perhaps,
We can't really address what we want on the
Yeah.
outside yet because
yeah,
of
You gotta get going inside first.
Right, you gotta get the, right, and plus the outside,
there's some.
there's some
Yeah.
rock behind
Yeah.
the
That we have to
siding
watch
that
out.
we've been told that, like, let the sun just hit it for a couple, few days in the hot summer, and then you can.
Right, have a
attack
better
it.
sense.
Right, so,
So first things first.
yeah,
Yeah, good.
And you said there's apartments above this building?
there is, yes.
Where do the people get in?
To the left, as you look at it from Main Street to the left, yeah, there's a stairway there that's,
Someplace here.
actually, it's almost
On
kind
the
of in the
outside.
exterior of the building.
Yeah.
It's a shared doorway
Oh, yeah.
with the place next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't notice them as much if you don't use them, but
Right.
That's true.
between every one of these buildings, there's,
Yeah.
almost every one, there's
Exactly,
an
yeah.
entryway that goes upstairs.
are you guys doing any work on the apartments
Yeah. Both of them.
Cosmetic. but
right now?
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, one of the tenants is,
We have to
we
address
got
the
stuck with a
situation.
tenant who's not paying, so
Oh.
we can't do anything till that, but hopefully,
Hopefully that'll be
Soon.
resolved.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what we bit off part of that as parts of the purchase
Yeah.
agreement. And
Yeah. Any questions about the I mean, I don't have any questions about the business. It sounds like you described like it would be a sort of retail and service, personal service
That's
operation. Yeah.
Right.
So people would come in and out of the front door and the back door? Your
Probably.
clients
Mostly
are
the front.
probably
I'm
just
gonna
the front.
encourage front.
Yeah,
Ideally.
and you would use the back for things that you might need.
That's where
Something like, yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
I'm
it's up to the
imagining.
era, to be honest with you. Like,
one
It
of
has
the
good access though, now that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of the factors, I don't know, quite frankly, that's changed is since we've started this process, one of the other salons in town, Images, has decided to close.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this is still on the fly. What we might do is offer a service through the back and the front.
Yeah.
More. I mean, this is still
To accommodate different
accommodate like
clientele.
more men's and kids cuts in the back and
Right.
more
More upscale.
higher end upscale
Yeah.
in the front. But
Right, how
we're
are you
not
gonna
there. This,
arrange
you know,
it?
we just found this out a
Right.
couple days ago.
Wow.
But that back access is actually really nice. It really the space could
It's
justify
accessible
two
as well. It's
retail
accessible.
Yeah.
businesses almost.
Yes.
Yes.
The
So
back's accessible and the front isn't.
What?
The front
yeah.
is not accessible,
Yeah,
but
you're
the
right.
back
ADS.
is.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Correct.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
lucky you guys to have that.
Well, I don't have a lot of questions.
I don't either.
So I think that, you know, it is kind of straightforward, but I
Yeah.
think everyone needs to have a chance to ask questions. Bill, I always call you out.
Well, I wasn't keen on a lot of regulatory review in the first place. I had very few questions. I think it's good to see a new business coming into Bristol, especially on our main street. I think that's real good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're really excited about it. And, you know, to touch what you first said, but it's like, boy, we're finding out there's a lot of red tape. Wow.
To get you
Don't look at us as red tape.
No, if it was all this easy, I'd be happy
Okay,
camper.
okay.
No, I think we should have bought it with a packet saying
But
start
I
with
know,
us.
someone
That's all.
should do a business, like how to start a business in
Vermont.
Vermont.
Yeah,
You know,
oh,
it's like,
yeah.
wow.
No, we wouldn't want to do that. We'd scare them.
You're right, because it'd be that thing.
Perhaps.
So one administrative thing is on the review criteria oversheet, Robert pointed out earlier, under point one, it says there will be change to the streets or traffic flow. It should be there will be no
No
change.
change.
So that's just a point of, and I'll modify that on the application.
And you keep this, your review as part of the
Yeah, that's part of the
application? Good,
application.
okay.
Just for your records.
All right. I'm simply missing that page. I saw it earlier and I wondered. Oh, it's on that.
I know it's working, but I don't have that on here.
Right here. So under, there will be no change to the streets or traffic.
Can I show a little bit?
Yeah,
No, last Wednesday,
okay.
13.
Oh, should I be, do you want me to take minutes?
I did the hearings.
Ready.
Okay,
Ah, there it is. There it is. Now that you're all done, I found it.
okay, I don't have any questions.
No.
Okay,
no, it's
no.
okay.
Anybody else? Okay, I move we approve the site plan review application as submitted.
Second.
Third.
Robert,
Do I have to state what it is?
No, but just under, typically when you approve these, you would require that any state permitting required before.
right, and you are waiting to get a wastewater permit?
Correct. We're working on purchasing more wastewater capacity, but we've had an
Capacity.
engineer tell us what we need. So
Right.
yeah.
Does that require a state permit if it's more capacity?
Kevin will deal with all
Yeah.
that.
They
he
will
said.
get, they will end
So-
up with a wastewater permit. yeah.
Right, so,
Okay.
do you have,
Is it a state?
yeah.
A state permit, okay,
So-
so should I amend it?
Yeah,
Or withdraw my motion and
You could have,
I can amend? Okay, so I'll amend the motion to approve to include a stipulation pending all applicable state permits are received.
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
When you say purchase, who do you purchase from? The community system?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Unused capacity.
Right, there is some right
This is the
now,
stuff we're
and
talking about.
Yeah.
the way I look, you know, at least our thought is like it's a finite resource, and if now is the opportunity to, even if we don't use it for
Yes.
now, at least we'll have it with
Yes.
the building. So yeah, we're kind of shooting for the moon, and
Yeah.
if you know, hopefully we'll be in good shape. Be enough to have, like we talked about, that potential expansion to the back where we have using the whole space as a shop as opposed to just
accommodate.
storage.
Yeah.
Because we want.
Because the previous businesses wouldn't have had, I mean, other than a toilet,
Right.
wastewater, right?
Right.
So you're, it's part
But
of
there
your
are
business.
apartments, there are apartments.
Right.
Right, right, and we're not changing the bathroom, so basically what it is they assign a set number to each
Yep.
hairstylist station.
Yep.
Right.
And that's how you get your
And,
calculation.
and nail station adds more water usage
Yeah.
and yeah,
Right.
It's,
Interesting.
there's
So it's a
engineers that figure
formula.
out that. You tell them everything you're gonna be doing and they say, here's how much you need.
Right,
Yeah.
and then you ask the town.
Then you ask
It's
the
like
town, can I have
with
that?
restaurants, it's
Sure.
seats.
Yes,
Right.
right.
So,
Right.
At salons, it's typically chairs.
It's a way to make the calculation.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like houses, it's bedrooms, even though it doesn't make any sense.
right. All done.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
Well,
Is
thanks,
that
guys.
it for
That's
you
it.
guys?
So did
Yeah.
we bring back the permits and?
You need
Talk
to
to
vote to approve the motion.
We,
We did.
We did.
We did.
All
You approved
agree.
your amendment, but
oh, okay, thanks, Chris.
Okay.
I'm so
I don't
glad that you're
think
here.
Okay.
So, all in favor of the
Motion is.
motion as amended?
Aye.
Okay,
Thanks,
the
guys.
motion is approved.
Okay.
Nice.
Don't you wish your other ones want that easily?
I know, that would be so nice. Or even if you could just meet someone face to face, because it's more, you know, you leave a message to someone and, oh, they're not in till Tuesday. It's like, ah, you know, that stuff all along. But yeah, this has been great. The town, like, this has been the easiest part, really, because I think people are excited about it.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Hang
some-
in.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bumpy getting there, but I think, you know, down the road, we'll be like, oh, that was a really good idea, and good for the town too, I think.
What will it be called?
Harmonia,
Excellent.
the goddess of harmony. Greek
Excellent.
There
concept.
you go.
Yeah,
We thought of it.
I'm waiting.
I know.
So
we have to-
we didn't ask if the public had anything to say about this.
I have something to say about it.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry about that.
Congratulations.
Ah, thank you.
And you shouldn't be worried about the design review commission. I mean, that is I'm on the board of that. And it's sort of an 18-point checklist that we look at
Yeah.
to determine sort of, and it's all facade-based changes.
Right.
And so we look at, there's kind of like the historical aspect of the town and then looking at the work you want to do. But it's just a very similar process with the board looking at what you're proposing. The biggest thing is just having as much detail as possible.
Right.
When you're submitting it, obviously Chris will help you with that too.
Now, perhaps this isn't the time, but to even take down stuff, do we have? Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, because it's a change to the facade of the building.
Right.
And so it's just a way, it seems a little,
Even though it's gonna be better?
Right.
it seems annoying because
Different.
like I'm trying to improve the building, I'm trying to remove an ugly awning, but it's sort of a preventative thing where if it's a historical building and people are sort of taking away that history.
Right.
That's part of kind of the protection why this is in here. And
So-
it's through Bristol Core or being a designated downtown, you must have a
That's
design
why it's
review
required.
district, which essentially is the downtown, and that's why it falls in this area.
Gotcha.
And
So one thing we spoke about, Mike, was
Yeah.
the awning on the front. Is there still verbiage on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That you can change out as long as you're
Right.
not changing the structure of the, or you
Oh,
can either
okay.
mask it out, replace with a new green panel. That kind of minor change, just come see me about it.
Okay.
But for the most part, you could do those kind of, if you don't take the physical structure off, we can work through that.
Could you put like a banner, like new business coming soon?
We could, yeah, come see me and we'll,
Okay.
we'll make that work.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Yes.
One thing I found, but even just like being cleaning and working a little bit in there, it's like, it's really nice. It's nice being in town. It's like, oh, you just watch the bakery,
Until it-
Covers is right there.
Until it's not, you know.
Well, I was telling Jen that at Emerald Rose, and she said, yeah, it's great, but sometimes I spend more money here than I make. You know?
Yeah,
It's like
right.
I spend 18 at, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it is
I
convenient.
was like, I don't really wanna run into so-and-so, I don't wanna.
Along those signs, we're gonna do the steps. That's there.
Oh, okay, I
Motion to
move,
close the hearing.
all in favor? A second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Alright.
Thanks, Chris. Keep me on track.
Part of the design is just sort of looking at.
Okay, so,
If there's one left over.
all right, we're not missing, okay. So we're gonna go back to number 1 on the agenda. Do we need to add or remove anything on this agenda? I think, well, last minute, Chris and I added the energy plan update. Okay,
Enhanced energy plan update.
excuse me?
Enhanced energy plan.
Yeah. She didn't put that on there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good. So,
I didn't have the updated version, but I saw it when I got here. So
Okay.
as long as that's the version that was posted on the site, I'm fine, good to go.
okay, did everyone have that? That our old business, we're gonna talk about the enhanced energy plan update and talk about subdivision draft regulations.
These guys have it.
Okay. All right, so approval of the minutes. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I move we approve the minutes as presented from the
Second.
January 15 meeting.
Second.
Okay.
And what?
Do you want me to continue?
Oh, I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Did I do that in reverse? I know, I'm doing everything in reverse.
It's okay.
Any discussion?
Help
No,
speed
I
it up
guess
if
not.
we can't do the discussion.
All right, all in favor? I thought there was something that I saw.
We're all in favor.
Discuss the order.
There was. I know more about these plans now, so I thought I saw something, but I'm just gonna say, looks good to me. So, okay, all in favor, did I ask that? Yes,
Yeah.
all in favor,
Yes.
okay.
Aye, we said it.
Sorry, the January 15 minutes are, 2019 are approved. Okay, administrative matters. The elephant in the room is that, well, first of all, we need to have our annual meeting, which basically, what do we do at that annual meeting, folks? We re-elect people for
Yeah.
chair and vice chair.
We look at the,
We look at our bylaws.
Yeah.
And then find out if people are leaving the board, which is happening. So our dear friend Sue is not gonna be on
My
the
term is
board
up.
anymore.
my third term is up.
And I also
Be stepping
heard from
away.
Anna that she does not think she can continue on the board.
That's too bad.
So, yeah,
Now we're in crisis mode.
now we're in crisis mode. So,
At least it's at 5.
Meaning 5, you still have 5 for a quorum.
Who else is leaving?
Anna.
Oh, it's too bad. And
I
who
know.
else?
Me.
Sue,
You're leaving?
weren't you listening?
I do have to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all.
Sit over here then.
Yeah, come on. So, I have been telling myself I have to put something on Front Porch Forum, but I haven't done it yet. And especially in light, maybe this will be it. And especially in light of all the interest in our community that we've read on Front Porch Forum over the past 6 weeks.
And there's
Um,
9 total seats.
9 seats.
There's
So
9
that would be
availability.
4
5.
vacant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 vacant.
Right. I mean, we can function with 6, you know,
Yeah,
or
we
we
still
can
need a quorum
function
of
with
5.
7.
Right.
It's better to have more.
You can function as 5.
You need 5, you need a quorum of 5
Quorum of 5.
for motions, for,
So
We're all
that's
going to
what-
be
that's
here.
what we're down to, right?
Yeah.
That's what
You
we
would be
will
down
be
to
down
5.
to, yeah.
Right.
So then if anybody can't make it, we won't be able to,
Oh, man.
you can still do work, but you can't,
we can't
we
approve
can't make
anything.
a motion.
Yeah.
So, when would your last?
Well, I don't know. I asked that, Chris, I can talk to Valerie.
Yeah,
You know, we have a hearing in 2
Yeah.
weeks.
And we do
And
have a hearing in 2 weeks.
I'm available for that. I mean, I don't want to obviously take advantage of, you
Your
know.
freedom.
No, but, you know,
Yeah.
if it's, I mean, it would be better to sort of run that by someone. I'm happy to do
I'm
that.
in tomorrow, I can check with her when
Okay. And I don't know if the select board, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they're
Okay.
fully aware of our openings, for sure.
Oh, yeah?
Not necessarily about Anna's.
Right,
But, and they
right,
might have talked about
Did
it
you
last
speak to
evening.
it?
I let Valerie know.
right,
Yeah.
Miller,
So she included in her weekly report that there are 3 openings
right.
in the,
Well, there's 4.
And that was
but she didn't know about
Oh,
Anna,
okay,
I
okay.
suspect.
No, she did. She talked about it last night.
So then it would be 4 openings, not 3. She reported 3 in her report over the Friday or over the weekend.
So it's really important.
No, we have 4 openings with me and Anna off.
So it's really important, crucial that we look for people and get the word out and really try to encourage the select board to look for people because they, they're the ones who are going to have to appoint. And we have had times where someone has been interested and they didn't appoint that person. So, we all need to spread the word and
Anna's
Try
husband, Matt, maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's part of the problem.
Well, we can use front porch, yes?
Of course you can.
Yeah, of
But we should
Yeah.
organize it. We should organize it. We shouldn't all put something on one.
Just put it in
Well, no,
perspective,
you-
I put it out twice because there've been vacancies on this
Yes.
board and on
Zoning.
the ZBA, the zoning board, for over a year.
Yeah,
I've put it out at least twice on Front Porch Forum and I've gotten this much response
Right.
both times.
yeah.
I will say that's how I ended up
Yeah.
here though.
Yeah.
So it
I-
yielded one.
No, I'm just saying, in the last year we've got.
Anna ended up here
No, it
just
can't work.
literally
Yeah.
coming to a meeting.
Yeah.
Ian?
That's true.
I have a list that I can give you of thoughts that I've had for potential members. So reaching out directly to them might be beneficial. I also
Right.
think you should think about how the people are interviewed. In terms of what we're doing for the Energy Committee, so we have 1 opening. We're interviewing 2 new members tomorrow, and then I'll be sending an email to the select board with our recommendations. But I also think that the chair of the committee should be part of the interview process when the select board interviews. And I also think if they decide to be in executive session to make a decision, you should also ask to be part of that, which is under open meeting law, you're allowed to do if it's someone connected to the matters that they're talking about. I think to have the precedence of them to make the decision without consulting the chair of a committee, whatever it is, or commission, I think that's detrimental to your trying to find new members.
Okay.
So I think it's an important thing to do.
That's good input. Okay, so we need to move forward on that. And that ties into, and I don't have the town plan listed on here because we're kind of in a stalemate there. I'm not 100% sure why. But I did speak to Adam Luigi about it today. And the situation is because the size of our town, we encouraged, I don't know if it's actually required, to seek outside consultant from regional planning. It has to be a competitive bid. That doesn't mean the town can't hire regional planning, but it has to come, so I know Valerie was not interested in going out. Have you spoken to
I
her?
talked to her yesterday,
My impression is she didn't want to put it out to
or
bid.
Friday.
Is it a requirement that it has to be?
No,
It's a suggestion.
it's highly suggested, but,
Are you familiar, Bill?
so her,
What are you talking about? I guess I'm unclear
I'm
what's
sorry,
happening.
with the town plan, we
Yes.
obviously got a grant
Yes,
to rewrite the town plan.
right,
Because of the size of our town,
yeah,
it puts us into a category where it is suggested, I'm not sure if it's required. I think they can make a decision at the state level if you have to do it or not. If you can use the planning commission, if you can hire regional planning to do your plan, or if you have to put it out to bid.
So
And then-
Claire, so when Claire created the budget, is it not based on the budget
It's
level or
not
is it based on?
the budget, it's based on our population.
Okay, so when we did the municipal planning grant application, did we reference utilizing, or was there an assumption that we would utilize the services of the
No.
Addison County Regional Planning Commission?
they were,
Okay,
they were mentioned, but that was not. there
Okay.
was
No, because
assumption that
we
they-
discussed that
Okay.
when I discussed that with
okay.
her.
I think we were just assuming
so
we were
right
gonna
now-
work with Claire at the time?
Right,
So,
Okay.
speaking with Valerie yesterday, where she's at is she needs to sit down and have a phone conversation with Adam at Addison County Regional for clarity on a couple of points, and then they'll move forward. As she said, she's actually able to breathe right now. Town meeting's done, town
Right.
budget's done. It's been fairly low on the priority list over the last month. Now that all that's done, it's back on the top. I keep knocking on her door, and so
Well, I left her a message today regarding that with information that she needs to go forward and make a decision.
yeah.
So,
So whether to use an outside consultant and whether it has to be a competitive bidding process.
Correct.
That's the
so
question.
the town has to decide which direction they want to go. And
Whether to,
to get an outside consultant or to go with regional planning.
I see.
The town has to
I didn't know
decide.
there was a distinction.
So what is the,
Let me just finish. The town has to decide that, and then if the town, I'm saying the town, Valerie, because I can't, I would have to recuse myself from that discussion. Then if they want to go with regional planning, they need to communicate with the state and the DC. I always get the DCH
Jeez.
Department of, but they're the ones where the funds are coming from.
Right.
So no, it's just a conversation saying, yeah, okay, that's all right.
Is it a yeah, okay, it's all right kind of deal?
I think maybe. We'll find out.
And who
It's Faith
communicates
Inglesrud would be the person she should talk to.
that Valerie should talk to?
Right.
Okay.
Is there, what's the feasibility of bidding out something like this?
Very easy.
Is it,
Put it out to bid, just like any,
I mean, there are
Planning
lots of
project,
people
any-
that do this kind of stuff?
I wouldn't say-
Okay.
Yeah, they
They have
advise
nothing
on
like that.
plans.
not that many,
And on town
unfortunately.
planning. I wouldn't say a lot.
We know them all.
Yeah.
Yes, Ian?
Is this because you received a grant? Is that the only reason why you need to do this, or is
Yes.
it? Okay.
The funding stipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes into the town and,
No, and it is based on the population.
Not on the size of the
Money.
job.
And and the money, the other thing that's crucial is that we have the money till May, next May. And if we don't spend it, we lose it.
Okay.
So. we need
So
to
the
get going.
sooner we start, the better.
Right. Okay.
So
Ian had a question.
Sorry. For when you did the previous town plan, did you work with Regional Planning Commission, or is it just?
we did.
We actually worked with 3 different consultants throughout the process.
Yeah, but we paid. We paid an
Right.
external person.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And did we have a grant?
Yeah,
Okay.
several. I think we went through several
Right.
rounds.
Right.
It took us a few years.
But you were making a big jump with that plan. You had come
It was
from
huge.
that. So this is not a total rewrite.
Right, I know.
And I think there's a lot of
I
good.
agree.
And we've got the energy plan being worked on,
Right.
and there's other pieces that are being worked on.
Yeah,
So it's-
separately and already.
Yeah. So that's required pieces that are on the way. Okay. So then, on that note,
Can I just ask you a question?
Yes.
So in your new role at
Mhm.
Regional Planning Commission,
I will not be.
you would be the
Hey,
person. So you
I, will,
would
I,
be the
I
person.
cannot
And
be
there
the person.
isn't a person. Is there a person at Regional? It could be Adam.
I mean, there's.
Or I don't know how many. Oh, okay.
There's other
So it
people.
could be someone else there. Okay, I see.
Unfortunately, it can't be me.
I got it.
I have to do it without pay. I can advise here, but I can't.
Thank you for the advice.
No money for you. So I sort of screwed things up. Sorry, folks.
No, it's good for
It's
you
okay.
though. It's
No
excellent.
problem.
Bill, you get to see Katie in a whole other.
Oh, there-
I know, he was
Oh,
sitting back in the corner just throwing out.
Bill's our representative
Jokes.
on Addison County Regional Planning
Okay.
Commission.
No, I know.
Somebody has to lighten it up.
Yeah.
Let's get too serious.
Yeah.
They were picking on Carl.
Well, okay. So on that note, I'm going to ask someone from the Energy Committee, you and Mark, and fight it out to give us a little report. How things are going.
Things are progressing.
The enhanced energy
Yes.
plan
Yes.
update.
Yes. Which, one of the things, I don't know, eventually will come of how we're going to incorporate it, right? It's been a process. It's very, to me, kind of, there's a template laid out and
Right.
we'll work through the template, and that's basically how we progress through it. There's some wordsmithing. Eventually we will be working on citing areas for preferred status based on limiting factors to various degrees.
Are you guys looking at the limiting factors yet? Are you kind of doing the overlay?
We are,
No, we're not quite there yet.
we are
On the
just
verge.
about there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, there's two phases. There's the
Right.
they basically have the whole document.
I know,
Right. And
Well, no, tell us, I don't know.
they basically have, and it's kind of they have the whole document already, and they put in bold the areas you might want to wordsmith.
Yeah, Andrew, I think, actually had a copy. of it when he
right.
came.
Well,
And so we
but he's doing it
we
differently.
wordsmith those, but I mean, we haven't made any major changes or anything. It's just little googly googlies.
Well,
here and there.
so I can really explain the way it's laid out if anybody is interested then. It basically, it's a sort of summary of existing energy sources, and that's the bulk of the document, and breaking it down into thermal, transportation, and then electric. And then the last piece is sort of the mapping, the generation, where you would have new generation. And in each of those categories, thermal being oil or heating, and you break down and look at what's existing, what do you use, and then what kind of targets are set. And so all these targets have been set by the state.
Right,
And I think we went over that before.
with Andrew.
Right, and there's you weren't at that meeting, but we had a workshop on this last week, and it is kind of tricky because you can really argue with these targets and how they got there, but it's important to look at it as sort of on a macro level, that it's getting people to look at their usage and what they can do to conserve, and maybe what they can do to switch uses. And it's a guide, it's a plan, it's truly a plan, and that you're setting targets for. So each of those categories, say thermal, then transportation, basically talking about gasoline, talking about vehicles. And one of the things you look at in that section is land use and how towns develop. And so that ties in to your land use section in your plan as well. And so that's the section where you talk a lot about switching to electric vehicles, and so then that additional electric, bumps up the electric section. So you're cutting back on certain electric uses, like inefficient electric uses, but you're adding then new electric with heat pumps or electric vehicles. And so it breaks down these three sections, and then you get to, there's a whole mapping piece, which is pretty interesting. And we went over that with Andrew and Chris. And that kind of eliminates areas where you don't want to have any development for a variety, or you can't, and then maybe where you don't. But it can't be arbitrary. If you say, we don't want to have anything here, there has to be reasons for that are legitimate. Like, you're also not allowing other kind of development there. We don't allow this because we don't allow industrial here, so we're not allowing industrial wind here.
So ultimately,
You
that
look like
would.
you have a question.
So
Communities have used general vision.
View sheds.
What's that?
Right,
View sheds.
Yeah.
but it needs
And
to tie
that's-
into the plan.
Yeah,
It needs to be parallel to the plan's visions and the plans and goals and policies. It can't just be a random, we're not gonna let solar go here, but we're gonna let, housing development here, or something. It has to make sense with their overall
Right.
vision. So, and then there's also a piece that is a citing guidelines for all renewable energy that you might propose, based on your plan. And in that, that's where you kind of discuss your preferred areas and why.
Which ties in with the land use as opposed to the zoning.
Right, because if you look at like Salisbury, they have 2 spots that's all in their community that's preferred siting.
Waivers too,
Yeah.
but it's a big area.
Oh, they're big
Yeah.
tracks, but so you don't have to drill down to the parcel level
No,
when it's
not at all.
done.
General.
Does it affect ultimately when we do a zoning regs update, it should inform that? I
No,
don't think you want
That's
to
something we
it's
talked about.
scratch on that.
so I asked that question.
Yeah.
There was a workshop Friday at
Right.
Regional Planning, and I attended,
Right.
and I asked that question about if it impacted zoning, and it was basically they said it's land use, not zoning, that is
It
what
ties to the plan.
what ties to
Because the
it.
state will, when they use it to consider projects,
It's part of the plan.
it's part of the plan.
It's part of the town plan.
Right, they don't look to your zoning, and you can't regulate, net metered with your zoning
Okay.
anyways. And you can only regulate any kind
By
of
law.
solar with screening, it's not,
Right.
you can't.
Because of the state
exclude it.
laws in existence.
Right, and so so this document is used as evidence from the town of how they want to deal with it, and it hasn't been tested yet, but hopefully it will.
Because it supersedes zoning, I
Right,
think it's something that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
When we're
Right.
making these decisions to have in the
Right.
plan, because
Right.
it goes above the zoning, what we have in our town.
right. It is important, I think, to, and we just did this with Waybridge, I worked on sort of finalizing the Waybridge plan, and after we finished the draft of it, the town sent in their zoning language for citing solar and wind, and it was good because we made sure that they could talk to each other, and it was just a little tweaking. Nothing major was changed. We just referred back to the plan and then eliminated some stuff so that it was not talking about different scales of projects. Just the zoning regs just talked about the smaller scale projects, and there's a cutoff in terms what's a residential. It was just talking about residential solar and wind. So.
And it is a large document, so it will I'm assuming
Like 30
that,
pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
the intent would be to have it as an appendix to the plan
Yes.
itself.
But it's part of the town plan.
It would be part of it,
It's
but
in-
as an appendix because it would be,
It's
It would
30
take over
pages.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
40 pages.
Itself.
It would be more
Itself.
So do you
Yeah.
still have an energy section?
I think
you would have
you just reference it.
It would just
Yeah.
be a reference.
a reference to appendix.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thinking, I think.
Yeah, I think we would obviously improve the language in the current energy section
Right.
and make sure that that's what we want it
Fully
to be.
fully
And then this will-
referenced.
Similar to the zoning regulations, this would be like the breakout document appendix that you would reference for any large scale projects.
So what's the time frame for,
I don't know.
Maybe more like-
We have 3 meetings.
Yeah.
We're meeting every month. Next one's April 2nd, 7 PM at the fire station. I don't know, given the speed at which we're working at, I mean, and our meetings are like almost
Which-
3 hours.
yeah,
I mean, just working, just the verbiage, simple stuff in the language to make sure
Yeah.
that like, okay, we're referencing something, but then what does that actually reference if someone came to the planning commission to talk about this?
Right.
It just takes
There,
time
you know,
to
I
do
have
that.
to say there is a learning curve everywhere with this.
Yeah.
And since I started working at regional planning, I mean,
yeah.
and I was kind of working along with Andrew at the same time. So I think it's going to get faster.
Yeah.
Well, we should get to the maps soon. We touched a little bit on maps.
And the maps
Yeah.
are all
Last-
set too. I mean, the
Yeah.
maps, with the exception of the preferred map is the one you create.
Right.
The other maps are,
Or
unless,
set. It's
yeah.
just a matter of selecting what the limiting criteria
Right.
are going to be.
Right.
Yeah, and as Adam pointed out a while ago when we were talking about maps, is that the maps that they've provided, the GIS, I mean, that's generalized data. So
Right.
it's really making sure that those data points actually are accurate.
Right.
So,
But
sort of like when I
they
look at the
don't
wetlands.
change, but they're not gonna change those maps, so you can
Right.
like adjust it to your preferred map, because it's really the preferred map. I mean, those maps are kind of to inform the process and,
Some of it too, I think, is with the mapping, that might take more time, is just actually doing site visits.
Right,
and
right, and I
going
think
to
that's
certain
really the-
areas. Once we identify certain areas
Mhm.
that we know, actually get solar or wind, then we have to physically go there to see
Mhm.
what's there and what
Mhm.
installation might look like,
Mhm.
and then start making
Mhm.
decisions. So that'll take a little bit of time, I think.
and one thing that we haven't seen too much, and you brought it up, but, is proposals for things like biomass and, not just solar or wind to reach targets. But that's some, those they can be ideas that are in the plan. You kind of need backup on it, because then this document does need to get approved by the select board. But it is interesting because there's a lot of hydro potential in certain communities that they are not, these plans are not counting that as existing renewable energy, even though because these towns wouldn't have to do anything else if they were to use all of that as renewable, because it's so high, the megawatt generator is so high, but it doesn't, it's only a few towns here and there. And it's interesting.
Hydro?
Hmm.
Yeah, but very few towns.
Yeah, there's only 2 or 3
Well,
in towns.
Weybridge, Salisbury, I mean,
Yeah.
you
Well,
could
they do.
say that Bristol could have a nice little hydro.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's another, it's a more complicated proposal, but it's interesting.
Well,
to
it
talk
starts
about.
at like 2017. That's what projects that are before that,
Right.
it's not added to
Right.
your amount.
Right.
So anything
Right.
after 2017.
Right, the existing, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have an existing, and it took us a while to get that figured out, because we had some towns that had this huge amount of renewable. I was like, how's that so high? It's like, because they had counted in
Yeah.
the hydro, and
So does ultimately the enhanced energy plan goes from us,
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to have a hearing? I mean, is it a separate entity from the town plan? Or do
Well-
we hold it until we do the other
apparently
town plan
Bristol,
stuff?
we do have to have it approved by the
Voters.
community in
Yes,
Bristol, not,
just like a town plan,
Yeah.
right. I didn't realize everyone doesn't have to do that.
right?
Maybe we should
So-
change that.
But as an appendix, it doesn't need to be voted
Not a good
voted
idea.
by voted at town meeting. Updates can be made without that, correct?
No way.
As soon as you make an appendix to the town plan, any modifications to that going forward would have
All have
to
to
go
be
through
voted.
full voter approval.
I thought that was the whole point of doing the appendix. That's what we talked about before.
No, no way.
Well,
As
let's
a
do that.
standalone plan, and if you point back as a reference, not as an appendix, then yes, you could do that. But as soon as you make it an appendix, it is a part of your plan.
I mean, you have to make
But
a
you'd have to
change
make
to
a
the
change
plan,
to the plan
to
to
reference
reference
the
that.
thing. So it's part of it. So you could make an amendment to the town plan of this enhanced energy plan as a standalone, if that's the first thing that's ready to go. And you could do it
Oh, absolutely.
in November.
Is our hazard mitigation plan, did that have to go before the voters? Because that's supposed to be part of the plan.
No, I don't think so.
So it really, that's considered
That was
part,
FEMA approved, but I don't know if it's ever been voter approved.
it gets talked about as part of a
Yeah.
plan. A lot of people have that right in their plan. So I'm wondering how we treated that, because I don't think
But
that's all
is it
approved.
reference to the plan though? If it's a
It does
separate
reference to
document
the
right
plan.
now.
It's a separate document that's in effect now.
Right,
It did not go before the voters.
it did not.
No.
Maybe just look into this, because it seems to be a similar
It's
thing.
not the same. I think it
It's just getting
references-
talked about
Yeah.
at regional planning at the same time.
It
Same
depends,
time.
I think, on whether you want it to have the effect of an enhanced plan or not.
Right,
if it's just a guidance document, information,
And what is ours now then? Is ours a
The
guidance
second.
document?
That
right
would
now?
be, that's the way I would look at it.
Mhm.
It would not have the stature of a
town
enhanced
plan.
document.
Right.
Which is what our town plan is.
Well, the plan.
Yeah.
But I'm talking now about the energy.
Right.
Right, okay.
energy plan.
So back to the energy plan. So one idea could be, you know, if you're looking at existing election days, you know, it's kind of how we had to do it for the town plan and the zoning regs, which is we had to sort of back it out, right? You had to figure out how,
Oh, so
you
we
know,
could do
what-
it in November.
what
If
time,
we
how
could do
much
it in
time you
November.
need, like there are statutory periods of time that,
Yeah.
you know, you have to get it to the select board, they have to hold a hearing or two, then they have to warn it within a certain amount of time before the election day. That means then you know how much time you have. So if it's not November, it's probably town meeting day of 2020.
I don't think we're gonna have many elections this November.
We're not. So they would have to be willing to hold a special election, which they're not going to do.
We won't get many people coming.
No. I mean, they can have a special election at any time,
Right.
but there's a cost associated with it and you don't have a good turnout.
Right.
So we went through this whole thing.
It's fine.
Town meeting,
It's
so a year,
2020, I think
basically a
that's
year
fine.
from now.
So-
So that's what you're looking at, but you
and-
should still back it out and time it,
Right.
because otherwise
But that does bring
you
up,
get caught short.
right, so that's important, because that's not the case with other towns, so you know, I don't know how many, it doesn't matter.
It
But that's
is
the
the
case
case
with
here.
our town, so, but on that note, we have a developer who is interested in, just to throw it out there, and how do we still want,
Green Lantern?
Interested in what?
Green Lantern is interested in
So,
Yeah, a solar
Were you here
installation.
when he came in and gave the presentation for the,
yeah.
I can't remember the last name, of
Brad-
the parcel, excuse me,
Rathbun.
Rathburn. And so far, you know, we've told him we're working on this plan and he was willing to wait, but I don't know if he knows that the wait will be till next spring. So,
because he wants the enhanced
the
rate,
preferred,
where you get the
Yeah.
extra money, of course.
And unless we are willing to
Make an
approve,
exception.
exactly, without going through the townwide review and citing exercise, which I don't think we should. Unless we are
I
changing our
don't,
minds.
I'm just bringing it up again.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, I'm not working on the plan, you guys haven't looked at the mapping yet. So as Chris, you know, he keeps contacting us.
yeah, they're anxious to do
Right.
a project in town, and we should be mindful of that, I think, but without sort of setting a precedent where we approve a project without a plan to hang it on or to reference. I think it's not a great precedent. Now, if you start your mapping,
I was
and
gonna,
that's an area that's clearly
that's what I was
pointing
gonna
down
say,
there,
like,
as if that's
if all the, if we know
if this
in,
early work.
in the next month or two or three or whatever, I don't think it needs to really wait all
Exactly.
the way till town meeting just because we're waiting for an election essentially.
Yes.
That seems like
Yes. So we talked about that
a
possibility
bit of
of
a delay
like
Right.
that's
of-
unnecessary.
doing the mapping first, but it probably wouldn't have made sense because it took, you know, several
I think there
meetings
was a
to sort
learning
of come up
curve.
to speed.
There was definitely a learning
Exactly.
curve.
I wasn't going to mapping.
Okay, so that's something for the energy committee to be thinking about and something for this
Yeah,
board to
I
be thinking about.
think we should
Do you have any thoughts
get
on that,
into
Bill?
that.
I won't make Bill talk some more.
Well,
So I know you have thoughts on these things.
normally, I'd want to go through the process of properly making a map. I think that's probably a better procedure, even though we all might be inclined to think that's a good site, given the present use of the land and the lack of visibility from the road. Still is good protocol to go through the process.
So it's your film, okay. I'm not weighing in right at the moment.
I think otherwise what will happen is we will be inundated with similar requests.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, well, you did it for the other fellow, why not
Right.
for me?
Right.
Meaning granting preferred status without
Yes.
an enhanced energy plan in place.
Right.
Basically, that's what we would be doing.
Right. So you guys get going.
I mean, I think within the
Which-
next.
Which we will
I
have
think
to
we
talk
will
about
have
at
the
next
maps.
meeting date.
Yeah, I think the next two meetings, we probably have we'd be much more comfortable looking at that.
Right, I think
That's
we should
still-
prioritize the map,
Okay.
which I think is coming.
I think we're at there now, but I think we're all in a better place.
And then get back to any wordsmithing we want to do.
Yeah,
That's what I would argue.
but that still doesn't put us in the position to completely sign off because it's nothing. It's still a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we decide, yeah, that site meets what we need it to meet, right? Or are we going to feel comfortable with it?
Well, how much is going to change? I mean,
That's true. Yeah,
once we've kind of finished the work on it,
yeah,
yes, something could change, but I would think at that point,
yeah.
we have done the work. This is what we,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
Then you have open meetings where you're looking at it, then we have at least one hearing, public hearing,
Right.
that reviews the text and the maps, and then we make a vote, this board makes a vote to convey to the select board, and then they have at least one or two, maybe one, I can't remember, I
Right.
think a
So
town plan only
there
needs
could be
one.
And then
lot-
we're gonna have
plan.
to do.
Then you have to
it'll
do
be
it again
adopted,
for
then
everything
we're gonna have
else.
to do it again.
Right, unless we get started
Yeah, we
with the
get
other
maybe a few
parts.
pieces in there.
That's exactly right. And in fact, that would be
So
good.
that, so
Wouldn't that be
there is
great?
potential for it to change then, given the number of
Exactly.
other meetings.
Based on
Exactly.
review.
Yes, public
Which is-
input.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If there's review, there's always the chance for change.
Yes.
So that's another reason to really get going on the town plan. Well, it would have to be we'd have to get going because the money's gone in May. So it would be the May after the March.
Yeah,
the rest of
unless
the
you
town.
have the consultation, you have enough consultative work between now and May of 2020 to finish it in time for the national election in November of 2020.
Right, but that would be,
That
the money would be
That
gone.
would be key.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you would, if you spend it through March, you're pretty close. You're
And
close
there's
enough.
no limit on how many times you can vote on your plan.
Well, what do you mean?
We'd be voting on it and, oh, you mean not do it twice? Just
No.
vote on it once?
You do the parts
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
ready
okay.
in March of 2020.
Yeah.
You keep
Right,
spending the municipal planning grant
Right,
through
right.
May of 2020. You get as much done as you can with an eye to have the vote in November of 2020.
So yeah, you do it in
On a
March and you
national
do it
election
in.
day,
Yeah.
which is the best turnout.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Who's gonna vote in that election?
I know. No, I don't know.
What do you
Nobody
think?
will turn out for that.
It's just gonna be hard to decide who to vote for.
Going back
So
to
we throw it in.
the appendix thing and the voting. So when we were in our meetings and we were talking to Andrew, we were talking about the idea of having the entire thing in the town plan. And one of the ideas that was floated was as an appendix because it was voted differently. Is that not the case?
I don't remember that
Okay.
conversation of that.
Because that was in one of our first meetings where we were
Okay.
trying to decide, do you put the whole thing in? What does that mean? Because it needs to be voted on. Not that I'm trying not to get a vote,
Yeah.
but I just want to be clear in my mind, regardless of what we do, like
Yeah.
what the best thing to do with this particular document since it's a new thing.
I think, I think
what you do is you update this section, I think it's only it's only 3 pages right now anyway, so you greatly reduce that and reference fully the
Okay.
appendix.
So the appendix is still something, if we want to make any change to the appendix, our new 40-page document.
Yeah,
How does that get approved if you want to make some changes?
so you basically say, this, I'm just speculating, but I think what you do is you're aiming for an update to the Bristol Town Plan energy section, which is
Okay.
currently section 6. I think you should keep the same format.
Yeah.
That is, a page of sort of overview language that fully references Appendix B.
Okay.
You know, we currently have an appendix. I'd have to look at the appendix. We don't carry that around because it's a big
Yeah.
document. And that's what you present to the voters, just that. So it's not anything, it's no different than updating the transportation section or the housing section.
I think it would be good to, I'm just thinking about how the energy plan, there's a whole citing section in there that's just like a couple pages. I mean, that might be good to actually have in the plan that gets,
Attached in the appendix.
yeah.
Yeah.
Other than, have the appendix is gonna be a
Hey Chris, do
separate-
you have a copy? I mean, we don't have to look at this, but the appendix,
maybe a
do you have
summary
it handy?
And
Is that what you have right there?
No, I just wanted to grab
Okay.
the document in there that should be processed.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, it's not critical for this meeting, but we should look at we should soon get out the appendix. We don't have, everybody doesn't have a copy. I think we only made a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has the zone, it has the planning area maps. It has a bunch of stuff. It's thick.
So, okay, sorry, so I'm still not clear.
I don't know what.
So
anybody-
once it's approved, changes would need to be voted on and approved again to take final.
Okay, so there's no way that for our new enhanced plan to make changes and have it not be voter approved?
No,
Okay, that's all I wanted.
No.
Yeah.
It seemed like our discussions before, it seemed like there was a way, it was like, select board approval or this approval, and I was like, is that a better way to go?
But
But
we
if there
really should
isn't any
confirm
way
that.
to do that, then it doesn't
I think
matter.
any change to the town plan has to go to the voters, whether you change a word or a whole section.
So-
Or
both-
whether it's an appendix.
Both
but it-
updates and
It has
amendments
nothing
need
to
to
do
follow the
with being
same
appendix.
adoption process, 24 VSA section 4385 and 4387. So whatever the state statute says in that sections of chapter 117 is what we need to follow. It's that simple. Speculation, somebody needs to look into it. I think the best route would be reach out to Addison County Regional. Let's get an answer on these questions.
Yeah.
Spending our time speculating on what we can and can't do doesn't make any sense.
But it's a town decision that the town has made that we have to vote on our plan.
Yes,
So,
That's
Yes.
actually
It happened at town
required
meeting.
because of our size of our community.
oh, good.
no, we passed
Well-
we
Was in the aftermath of Act 200, we passed a condition that the town had to vote on the plan.
So what that is. a
it's
town
happened in the
spec-
time since I've lived here.
It's a town specific.
Yeah, it was at town
Yeah.
meeting.
Each town can decide.
Okay. I just assumed everybody
did
did
it
it,
in-
but I've learned recently
No,
that no.
it's not the case. We
Right.
did it in 2000, probably 8 or 9.
Many months ago.
I thought it was more like
It was-
1992.
No,
I
it
think
was
it's
since
a long
I've been here, because I remember it.
So the
We had
select
to do
board,
we had to do a paper ballot.
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, the
Yeah.
select board made that
That's
decision
how
bill
we-
back in the 90s, that any zoning changes would go for voter approval.
Oh, okay.
And that's been changed. Wait, oh, okay. That's a different town. I'm getting my towns mixed up, sorry.
Yep, welcome to my world.
We have to vote for everything around here. Okay. Good discussion. Onward.
Keep going, good work.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
And we will need to talk about possibly rescheduling our next meeting.
Oh.
If we have a site plan review on the second and we
Oh,
have
yeah.
not enough members.
So
to
Chris, we're definitely
talk
having a
about
site plan review?
It's gonna be
Meeting?
short. What time is your meeting?
it. 6.
Site plan review?
7.
Oh, no, PUD,
PUD.
sorry, on the 2nd,
Second. Schwanners.
which is what these guys are talking about having for their enhanced energy plan.
Can you meet earlier? Maybe?
So ours would be 7, we've already warned it.
Yeah.
The paper says.
Well, we normally meet at 6. We could meet 6 to 7.
I think it's.
Could you do it right
We'll have
now?
to.
Yeah.
Start
And
an
I
email.
asked you with the 7 just to make it easier for people to have dinner and stuff like that, and also because I forgot about the sometimes 2 meetings that the planning commission has. I was trying to put it that
Yeah.
first.
And that just
Hopefully
came
avoid
up
all that.
recently
but
since
yeah.
then.
Yeah, we can move ours around. We're flexible.
Does Andrew come to all your meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's leading the group.
It's like our
Right.
shepherd.
Right. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna put a question mark on the, in the minutes in case that may change.
I wouldn't call him that. As I've gotten to know him. He's a very nice guy. Okay, the next thing on new old business is discussion of subdivision regulations. Another short discussion. And I don't know if this has gotten pushed around.
Yeah, I sent these out months ago, something not ago.
I actually read it.
I have some copies if people need them. Not I can make more.
I did not print it out.
Anyone else want a copy?
Do you need some of copies from?
3, 4.
Did you read it ever?
No.
Did everyone read it?
No.
Okay, so it's.
Can you give us an overview of the idea?
Well, I think this document here would need a little tweaking. Did you read it, Bill?
No.
No, okay.
It seems like a good base
It's a good
framework
start.
for a set of subdivision regulations. It's
Can you
not,
say why?
You work with subdivision regulations, don't you? And I've
I
done
try not to.
And why we don't
some
have any
subdivision
currently?
regulations.
we do not have it.
Well, I can
Why?
give a little background and then maybe
That would be
you
great
can
to
give
know.
your like
I've never
your
really understood
professional
this.
angle on it. Well,
Sorry.
it's just another process. It's good if you think about it as similar to site plan review or conditional use review or subdivision review. I think that's a good way. It's just a different category. And in this case, you're legally dividing parcels. And that's what makes it different. Would you agree? And so it needs to be, and after you do it, you're actually changing the record in your town. So end result, if the subdivision goes through and everything's approved, each town gets a Mylar that they record in their records, their town records, and it gets written up, and so it's an official adjustment to the town records. So it's a process that the process is really similar to the site plan process, or as I said, we don't do conditional use. That's that conditional review. That's zoning, but it's like a PUD or a site plan review. But some of the documentation or the site plan, it's really a plot plan that you have to present that's surveyed. And one of the things in reading this, I noticed that this doesn't require it to the end, the actual survey to the last review. And there's a series of review. There's usually, you start with a conceptual review and sometimes call it a sketch plan, where you go in with just kind of the concept and say, this is what I'm thinking about. Does it meet the zoning requirements? Does it meet, there's a checklist. And at that meeting, the board will say, either agree that it does and let's move forward to the official review. And in New Haven, they would then decide at that point, is it a minor or a major subdivision? And so that usually has to do with the number of lots that you are creating. And typically it's like more than 2 is a major.
Or certain towns are different.
Yeah, it's all different by town, so.
So is it sort of like a more simple version of a PUD? Like what's the
The
So-
PUD has a lot of,
And why don't we have these already? I guess is the question. Like, how can you not have this?
Well, it's not really required to have subdivision regulations, right? But it's kind of like the enhanced energy plan, where if you don't have subdivision regulations, you default into a certain category.
Act 250.
And then with that, it's much stricter standards on the subdivision, whether it's a 1 acre
Yeah,
limit or
thank you.
10 acre limit, I believe, for commercial use and some of the other things.
Thanks, Chris.
So there's a benefit to having subdivision regulations in terms of development, especially smaller development. If you were to carve off a chunk of land for a business to use,
Yeah.
they would still fall under very strict guidelines if there's no subdivision regulations.
And to answer your other question, Susan,
Yeah,
historically, there wasn't a lot of subdivision of any kind. And then it was considered an additional obstacle to development. But as our planning and zoning has evolved with the site plan review, very frankly, I don't see a lot of difference between the site plan review, which we now have, and subdivision. So I think it's somewhat of a moot point.
so how is it different than like PUD, for instance?
PUD, the
You
main-
aren't dividing property and you're selling,
Well, PUD is completely,
is specific to densities
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is
So
this is very straightforward.
a PUD is a subdivision.
yeah, right,
So they're both subdivision, but a PUD allows for flexibility in
Yes.
size
Yes.
and.
yes,
and-
because they have an even greater level of review.
It has
But
nothing to do with
it's
review.
not always a subdivision. For example, co-housing is not a subdivision.
Right.
Because they're really,
They don't own.
Well, that's true, because it
They
can be a
don't
single.
know
not owned. So PUD has a ton of flexibility.
Yes.
It's being able to keep a certain density in a certain zone,
In a
but moving
certain
things
square.
around and messing around with
Yeah.
setbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can, typically around here, PUDs seem to be used for subdivisions that don't quite work a certain
Yes,
way.
yes,
But also because you're calling it a PUD, you don't have to go to Act 250
right.
because you can't, because you're subdividing.
As long as you're not creating more than 7 lots.
Right, that's right. But, so that's why people use PUD.
Or 15
around here.
housing units, I think, too.
It's
If you're doing
15.
PUD, I think you
Yeah.
can cross 15 housing units.
It
you
is.
go to 250.
Right, that was the case over here. So, but just a straight subdivision, if somebody just wants to divide their 8-acre parcel or into 2 acres and give one to their kid, and that's usually how it is, they can do that with subdivision regs. Or 3, or, but it gives you, it seems to be something that people want around here, and it seems to be something that would reduce the cost of, I think I'm right on this, of subdividing property, because it costs a lot more. if you
and
don't have it
permitting
locally.
associated with that.
The permitting process alone just becomes astronomical, cost-wise. Talking with a couple of the projects that I think one's been here and one's been to the ZBA, both down in our commercial zone. Hillside Precision to build a 9,600 square foot box that you guys approved. It went through the ringer. You made sure that the building was the right space. They had to go through Act 250. It was
Because it was larger than an acre.
Yeah,
no, yeah, because it has to be because our zoning says you can't build anything in commercial less than an acre. So we force anyone in our commercial zone who wants to build has to go through Act 250 right now. Because of what we've done. We could increase that number or decrease the lot size slightly and eliminate it that way, but that's a poor way to fix this. At least this keeps oversight on what we're doing. But so Hillside's in it for about 35 grand. I was talking with Oakley the other day on they're building a contractor yard. They want to put in a small building and park their trucks and their dozers. They have to go through Act 250.
So would Tommy Lathrop be the one who would benefit from the subdivision regs?
Nope.
Because he's selling the lots.
Right, so he subdivides it he subdivides it and sells it. Now,
Himself,
Yep,
private sale.
correct.
Yeah,
So he sold Hillside 7 acres of dirt.
yeah,
Now, for them to do what they want to do, they have to go through Act 250 with the way.
Because it's over 1 acre.
Yeah.
right.
Because we don't have any
And-
zoning regulations that say otherwise. It's basically like, you have no oversight, so this is the.
but by us getting subdivision regs, that does what in that case?
Because in right now, Tommy, when he wants to subdivide a parcel, he brings me a map,
Yeah,
and if it meets the criteria in our lot sizes, it's an administrative approval
right.
at my desk. You all don't ever see, nobody sees it. That's where, what the theory is by having subdivision regs, that when those subdivisions are being done and created, there would be oversight from your DRB or from your zoning or from your, however you all want to create it. And then,
DRB.
so what you're looking at is an oversight at the beginning, when the lots are created, and then oversight at the project level, and not needing to bring Act 250 in to babysit that for you.
It basically gives us more local control. Which is-
Hands down.
Yeah, so, and it's less expensive for the developer. It seems to be like, I mean, and
'Cause
why don't we
that's
have
too-
How did we get through our whole zoning process without talking about this? Was there no, was there resistance to it up
It
front?
has been.
There was resistance at the beginning because not wanting to break up, not wanting to create a DRB, not wanting to change philosophies, not wanting.
So if
to-
we create a subdivision regs, does the planning commission have oversight?
No,
You have to create a
You don't
DRB?
have a zoning board anymore.
Well, you can. You don't have
You
to.
do a little
Most-
shifting around.
Most communities go to a DRB.
Which
And
would do both subdivision regs and the kind of work that the zoning
Right, they
board
would
does
do-
now?
It does.
They would do
it
all
basically
permit
hear
review.
all permit reviews, and the planning commission would plan, and the development review board would do development.
So what about like site plan review?
DRB.
So that's pretty substantial.
Right, it's a
That's
shifting
like-
around of the boards.
Yeah.
That would have to be,
That's part of this.
Well,
It's
right,
not
right.
just,
Well, it
It's
is,
not
but it
just-
isn't, because you don't have to create a DRB. You can still utilize.
I'm not advocating for one way or another, but it's important to talk about that as part of this process.
Well, and that's part of in here is that there's a delineation of, that needs to be discussed is what are responsibilities?
Right.
right. Well, right now, it seems like we have one board that is not very busy. And
Oh,
another
yeah.
board that is busy.
I mean, I've, what, a year and a half?
And not
in
doing
this, and
anything,
I've had
right?
two
No, I'm
ZBA
just kidding,
meetings.
I didn't say that.
Year and a half, we've got two ZBA.
Yeah, that's too bad.
When we
Well,
redid
we
zoning,
haven't had a lot of projects either. I mean, we had a flurry of projects, but then we have.
But we have other stuff that we're not getting to,
Right,
like subdivision regs
Right.
and town plan and
Right.
energy plans.
right. But it's not as if we spent a whole lot of time on our site plan review tonight. That was.
No,
20
but
minutes.
it's, but it's
We've
still
had-
regular meetings. I mean,
Right,
8-10 of them in the last year, but
right.
out of
So-
12 meetings.
So there's definitely more discussion needed for this, but I personally think that we need to move forward. I think we should move forward, and, you know, I don't know the process of, okay, this would go in our zoning regs, and so then,
Where would it go? Like that, you'd have to
so yeah,
imagine
what we're
how it
basically
would
gonna
affect the
create.
existing zoning regs
So
to
basically
inject
what,
this.
and the reason why the document that's now is section 610,
Uh-huh.
is this a new section that's added to our zoning? So instead of having, what do we call them now, zoning regulations, is that the official title on the cover of that book?
they
Yes.
call
Zoning
it is.
regulations, yes.
We
You
would
should
then,
know.
we would then have a unified planning document. So what you do is you tie your subdivision regs and your zoning into one. That's one model. The other model is you can create standalone subdivision regs, which is, it really doesn't matter.
So 610 goes under attaching conditions to specific uses? Is that, you were just like speculating here?
Yeah. I think 610 is where,
Right.
I think that when
It's
I looked
after
at it-
609.
Yeah, I think that was the next available 6 in that,
Right.
because that sort of fit in that model of what's in section.
And that's the
600.
right place for it?
I think so. Isn't section 600?
That 6 is conditions attaching to specific uses. That's what Article 6 is.
I'm going with
you don't have to keep your hand up, I see you. When they're done talking, I'll call on you. Sorry. I thought it might be getting sore.
I'm trying to be polite.
You're very polite. Yeah, plan unit development, this is,
I put it in there because it was after PUDs, that's why I put it where I did. I was like, there was a rationale, I remember having one.
yeah, I don't know,
So, the number is arbitrary.
Yep.
Okay, don't get hung up on that.
There-
yeah.
And same with PUDs, that may not be the right spot for PUDs, we may realize, oh crap, that's in the wrong spot too.
Well, this also may be a good opportunity
Adam
to
might be able
fix
to
some-
advise too, because he
Well,
did this
they-
with the organization.
And they also, I need to plug my organization, but they help people rate these.
Yeah,
It's not a big document.
But you'd
And it
have
might be
to, all right,
get it right.
Unless they have to look elsewhere.
so it would be a change to this document, which has to go to the voters too, same sort of thing.
Yes and no.
Yes and no, what does that mean?
It eventually does.
Yeah,
But it could be if the select board deems that it's a imperative change that they would like to see implemented now, they can adopt interim
Temporary.
zoning bylaws.
Oh,
Which then,
interim, yeah.
which then need to be approved by voters, I think within 12 months or 18 months of passage as an interim law. And if they don't get passed, then they roll back to the
They
original.
expire.
So that's,
But there's plenty of time in that time period too. There's plenty of opportunity to get them voted.
oh, and even on interim zone, they still have to have public hearings on it. They can't just pass it one night in the
Okay,
meeting.
good.
It has to go
Alright.
through there's a minimum, I think it's minimum one public hearing, maybe two for interim. It's not something they can just do with a wave of a wand and make it happen at one of their meetings.
and same for us? I wonder if we have to do it too, a hearing?
I believe you do.
All right, anyway.
Well,
So the key would be to understand better, you know, like where these would fit and what else it would affect. if
and
we-
you're right, and it seems like it would, you know, we have a lot of work here before us, and we have a small board. Getting smaller. We have the energy plan being worked on. We're gonna need to get going on somehow.
The town plan.
Chris doesn't have time to do this. So-
This was my first shot. I
Right.
wrote these for you.
It's a great start.
You wrote this?
I took other town subdivisions,
Yeah.
compiled them together, then went through, compared
We
to what we
met.
have for our existing regulations, and melded our regulations into what they had, so that
I had some input. Chris can't get all the credit. But he gets a lot of
Or
credit.
you cut and pasted it from other sources
The-
and melded it together.
yeah, I mean, the basis of it is actually from the St. George, from their Unified Planning doc. That was, I looked at probably 30 of them, I liked their look and feel the best, and then I went from there.
So then I guess we need to decide as a board if we want to ask for assistance to refine and make sure we have all the right information in here and understand the process and what our options are for boards.
These
If
other
we
people-
change the boards and then that's probably a process too, and that's gonna have to go.
So
So-
there is money, we do have consulting money in our budget.
Right.
So that this would be probably a good use, we could use some of that to do that if we wanted to.
In the existing budget,
Right.
in fiscal year 19?
So,
I think I've got 30 grand.
One way we could go about it is to authorize Chris to contact
Who?
regional planning.
I would like to start with
Adam?
County Regional,
Yeah,
that's my
it
preference.
seems like Adam might be the right person.
Well,
Only
just-
because he was,
Right, well, just
Follow this.
whoever,
yes.
however that works out. But
So
it
why
needs
don't
to
we do
come
that?
from us, so if someone wants to
So we need a
make
motion? Okay, so I move that we, Planning Commission authorizes Chris to explore and take steps to utilize consulting, available funding within the Bristol budget for consultative services related to
Subdivision.
subdivision regs. I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Ian has something to say. Because he raised his other hand.
He's left over from
I
the
don't
enhanced energy
have to say
plan.
anything, but I'd like to. I think it's a positive way forward. I've talked with Chris a little bit about it. You know, we obviously, Bristol wants to grow industry here, and I think having to run and go through Act 250, I think is very preventative. From the little information that I know, it doesn't seem to doesn't take away anything in terms of oversight to what could potentially come here, but I think it does work against any business coming in to look at that amount of money that they would have to output in order to set something up. And I've seen it with businesses that are here that were exploring that potential, who have left here because of
Yep.
that. And so I think it's, I think it's good to at least explore this to see what that gets us and how much does that help. And I don't know from Chris, from your experience in other towns, the fact that we have something as small as that 1 acre triggers Act 250, has that been working against us in terms of bringing people in or enticing people here or people wanting to come here?
I know two businesses that walked away from Bristol because Act 250 was good.
And we had that.
And the
Issue
other
down.
towns don't have that same issue of 1 acre?
Oh yeah, it's a
triggering?
statewide.
I think
If there's no
we're one
subdivision
I think we're one
regulations.
of 3 towns left. There's not many towns left that don't have
In
subdivision.
Addison
regs.
County,
Oh,
there
so
are
we're kind of-
3.
I think it's
All
only
behind,
3 in Addison
yeah.
County.
Yeah, there's 3
All
towns in
behind
Addison
back.
County that don't have subdivision.
And the 2 other towns that do this want no commercial growth anyways per se, so it's hard to compare the other towns I work in. But in our community, that Bees Rap is the most recent. They had a building that was essentially going to be built for them. The developer who was building it realized he was going to have to go through Act 250. Did about after he came and got approval here, and turned around and did about face, and it's going to end up being a triplex. So
Or
they're
is that down by the
down behind
daycare?
by the Vermont Bristol Family Center.
Yeah.
So once you have these subdivision regs, what triggers Act 250 at
10
that
acre.
point? 10 acre, okay.
So
So everyone else
commercial-
has 10 acre triggering and we have 1 acre triggering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why wouldn't you build in Starksville? Or Middlebury is the big one right now. I mean, everyone seems to be going there.
Okay, so did we pass that?
No, we did not vote yet.
We're in discussion.
Oh, we're
We're
still
discussing.
discussing. Okay, you're welcome. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
I,
I abstain.
okay, we're
You
still
have
at
5.
5. Yeah,
Oh.
okay, good.
Oof.
Yeah.
I think I need to abstain. Yeah,
It's,
Don't worry about it.
I'm
It
not.
passed.
Okay.
Bill should abstain too.
Really?
You should be abstaining all the time. Okay,
Good, thank you.
so how about you let me know when you talk to him, if you could just CC me, that would be great.
hopefully tomorrow I can just reach out.
Okay,
No, it'll be Friday. I've got 2 appointments tomorrow.
good. Okay, that's great. So, okay. And is someone talking, I can't remember if someone's talking to Valerie about, are you talking to Valerie about the plan? Oh, I'm talking to Valerie about the plan. I left her a message. Okay.
And
So-
I talked to her, and like I said, she's waiting on, she said she owes Adam a phone call. And I'm like,
Right. So we'll get that resolved and I'll let people know what that, because as far as the board is concerned, you don't have strong feelings one way or the other? How that,
We need
Yeah.
help.
right, no, I know,
Yeah.
obviously, we need help. I mean, but you don't care if it's coming
As
from
long as it's
regional
quality
planning?
help, it
Or
doesn't matter where
exactly.
it comes from.
Right.
Yes. Some experience with town plan work.
Yeah.
Would
Excuse me?
help.
And the price is right.
And the
Well, we
price-
got the money.
right. Exactly. Because we have a budget.
well, because
Yeah.
I mean, there's criteria, I think, attached to the grant, what qualifies as a consultant.
Oh, good.
I believe, I
I
remember.
would hope so.
Well, we're not gonna, yeah,
I was gonna put it
you'll probably do fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
So, let's see, any other public comments? Ian? Now's your time to talk.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn. Oh.
We're just very, no, it's not, it's a yes or no answer. I have hard copies of the Schwanier proposal in my office for everybody. If you'd like a copy tonight, I will gladly give it to you.
Oh, yeah.
All, Now back to your.
Oh, wait, what, is actually on that?
All right, I'm
Is
gonna
there-
second it anyway, so we can
Yeah.
just keep going.
Is there anything you want to give us any intro to that before we look at it and scratch our heads? Okay.
No, it's basically they're creating a 5 lot subdivision.
Okay,
As in the form of a PUD.
Wireless isn't
Yeah.
because, only because
What are you trying to get into?
the Wi-Fi.
natural issues.
Are you-
know,
are you
it
on
didn't
the
fit,
internet?
and that's
I know
not.
I'm on my
Right.
cell
See,
phone.
that's, I never think of PDAs like that, but
Thank you.
that's how they're used here. Here,
I've only
in
made
these,
5.
in these parts.
So what's, in terms of that date,
Yeah.
are you guys all good with April 2nd?
What, is that Tuesday?
Yeah, it's already
Tuesday,
been
April 2nd, it's in
warned,
2
right?
weeks.
Right.
It's already been warned, so we
Yes.
have to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, you can postpone 10 days so if it turns out you don't have a quorum. So just to overview, there's 2 copies of each map in here. One is a larger black and white, and one's the same exact map, but it's in color.
Have we adjourned yet?
No?
Okay.
I need to make one more copy.
All right, we do need to have our annual meeting. And there was another thing that I did want to bring up, and
Okay.
Chris, you and I talked about it. Is we haven't gotten paid in a few years.
Well, it has been submitted.
It has been okay.
It's been resolved.
For the
Okay.
whole year or for 2
Well,
years?
I was wondering if we could get some back pay.
Well, it goes, so
Is
what
it
was
like a
submitted- what was
government
submitted was for
shutdown?
2017, the last time you were paid was July of 2017. So it'll be paid since we do
Go, Chris.
year to year. I didn't do anything special. I
I
fumbled
bugged
the
him.
ball.
It's okay.
I didn't know I had to submit it. So I submitted in your time for 2016, 2017. I take that back.
Did you have to go back and make sure who was
Oh
here?
yeah, I did create a whole little spreadsheet. It was easy peasy. It was just a spreadsheet. So it'll be through June of last year you'll get paid, and then this June it'll be back.
Okay.
So it's because we do annual budget. They do
Okay.
July to July.
Thank
It's all
you.
resolved.
Thank you. And so then our annual meeting, I guess, should be in April.
Yep. April 29th.
So
So you
we're
should,
gonna have.
you know what I'll do is I'll send you the policies and procedures. So everybody should have that. And so at the meeting, you elect me chair, vice chair, and you look at the policy and procedure ahead of time and come with any,
I have that.
So that would be the 16th of April.
April 16th.
Yeah. Oh, I apologize.
What? Alright.
it's like,
Have
it's
their
called our
taxes?
organizational meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like a normal public
Yeah,
meeting.
It's fairly quick.
yeah. But it's a good thing to do every year.
And so hopefully we will know what we're doing with the town plan then. There's not much to do,
Okay, so this.
except to make you the chair.
Do you, if you
That's gonna be your
you
hardest
need
task
me,
yet.
I don't know if I can take part if you need me. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if my term is technically over as of this meeting or what. I think we've sort of fudged it in the past. I don't think it's illegal for me to keep going until,
Well, we might be able to,
Point.
we might be able to get Anna, or no.
right,
Well,
it
he was
depends
gonna
on
be
whether
so
she's
serious.
off, or just going to be off.
Well, if neither person opted for reappointment, I mean, I
Oh, no,
I
she's
would
on the
assume
same
the select
schedule
board
as you
could
then.
do
Oh.
they could do a short-term appointment possibly. I don't know. That would
Okay.
be, I'll check with Valerie tomorrow.
Just
but-
check with her.
If
Okay.
we can get you and Ron, at least for this hearing, so we can get through the
Yeah, you
hearing.
need you need 5 to make a motion to
I mean,
pass.
everyone has to show up that's at the table
Yeah,
right now.
nobody's allowed to get sick. Right,
Okay.
Yeah, no sick kids, no.
right.
Boy. But,
Right,
Oh,
we're
wait,
not
wait.
done yet, dude.
We're not adjourned yet.
You got his hopes up.
Wrangle it. Okay, so I made a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you
Good.
very much.